Thank you, Tashai, for joining us.
Hi there. Hello.
It's so wonderful to have you with us. We're super excited to paint your piece, although I'm sure many people are maybe a little bit overwhelmed because they're like, this piece looks gorgeous, but it looks like it could be a little bit difficult. But I know they're in like absolutely amazing hands because you are a Montessori teacher, actually. So that's your job. So teacher by profession, we're in very good hands. But your primary passion is art. So can you tell us a little bit about, you know, the journey of how you got into being an artist, and why you love what you do?
So I was born in South Africa and I moved over to Australia very early on in my life. And I've always really been able to see the beauty in everyday things, in most things. And I love how a painting can immortalize everyday moments. Yeah, and it's also stress relief, which as a teacher, you need.
Yes, absolutely. Especially now.
Yeah.
Now, during this sort of lockdown and uncertain time, this is such a nice creative outlet, isn't it? Just allows us to be present and to do something different. So I'm sure everyone is very excited to get stuck in. I do suggest that everyone grab yourself some water for your paintbrushes if you don't have. Grab yourself that, you know, glass of wine if you have, and or a cup of tea. Pop some music in the background. But we don't have many rules. The most important thing is if you could please just keep your mic muted during the instruction. However, if you are feeling at any point that you have a question, any question at all, please pop that mic on and you can ask Tashai or us. We won't be much help. So you'll ask Tashai throughout the instruction. This is a very open space. You're welcome to come in with any comments, any jokes, any questions. And yeah, are we ready? Tashai, are you ready?
So ready.
Oh, fantastic. All right, off to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. So this is the first time I actually tried painting a flora piece. And although it looks very detailed, I don't want you to stress about it. It really is about being calm and expressing yourself. And I'll give you a big surprise. Even if you follow my directions step by step, you'll come out with your own masterpiece. None of ours is going to look the same, and that's the magic of painting. Otherwise, we just take a photograph and just give it to you. So please don't be nervous. If you want to go ahead, you've got the steps. If you think I'm going too fast, please just put up your hand. There are some times we're going to move a little bit faster, like with the background, things that are easier, and then we'll pause till they're dry and give a chance for questions. So please don't be shy to just shoot up your hands and say if I'm too fast or too slow, or if you need a little bit of advice with technique. Just give me a moment, please, while I get the top view on for you so you can see everything we're doing. So we're going to start by unboxing our amazing paint and sip kit. Isn't this just lovely? It looks so beautiful. So inside your kit, this whole kit is usable. So if you want to use the cardboard to mix paint on or as your backdrop so you don't mess on your table, please do. We really pride ourselves in being eco-friendly, and look at this beautiful set. So your booklet is, if you want to go ahead a little bit or you need a closer look at anything, you can really just do it through this. And if you need help on top of that, remember, I don't bite. I'm a teacher. There are no stupid questions, so please ask if you need to. We open up the kit, and I'm going to use this piece of white paper right at the bottom so I can mix and show you the colors. If you want to use the box or you just want to paint on your table, that's perfectly fine. We have got 5 different colors. We've got an extra white. We've got a cardamom yellow. The cardamom yellow is going to be used quite a lot. We've got black, that's just right at the end if you want to sign your painting. Quite a lot of white, which is really needed because that is how we decide the shades we're working on. Just a primary red. I know you can't see red in this painting, but it's so complementary. The backdrop has got a tiny little bit of red, which really makes a difference in how the piece comes together. And a primary blue, which is obviously how we mix our green. So for those of you who are doing this for the very first time ever, this white thing over here is called a canvas. No, I'm just kidding. This is your canvas. You got a nice little apron in here to make sure you protect your clothes. So you're welcome to pop that on quickly. This paint does stain your clothes if left to dry. But if you're quick enough and you've messed on yourself, you can rinse it out very quick and it does come out. So just be careful if you're wearing something that you are very, very fond of to not mess on your clothes. Put that apron on. You have got 3 brushes here also. I'm going to be using my own brushes, just as you have the choice to use your own brushes. So we're going to keep it very basic. I will just say the largest brush, the medium brush, or the small brush. Interested, these are all called flat tip brushes. And that's the most basic brush we use in painting. So even though this painting looks very, very crazy and complicated, it can't be. It's not really that complicated. So you can open your brushes, get them ready. I'm just going to remove my box and use the paper as a backdrop. There we go. Make sure you have your lappy close by and your booklet. And then with your paint water, I just want to make something very clear. It's difficult for each artist, but this is your paint water and this is your juice or your coffee. Please don't get them mixed up. It happens way too often where I take a big swig of my paint water or accidentally dip my paintbrush in my drink. If you have wine and you do that, please during this time, do not waste your wine. It is non-toxic. You can just take another sip. All right, let's get going with this painting. As I said, some parts are going to go quite quick, and then we're going to slow down once we get to detail. If I'm going too fast, please just give me a shout. I don't mind slowing down. Can everyone see nicely? Are we all happy? Great.
Yes, we are. Yay.
Awesome. All right. So, as long as you trust me, you're going to come out with a masterpiece. I can promise you this. I've made this bit with so many people, but if you're literally not happy with your painting, I will send you mine. I can make that bet because I know you're going to be so proud of what you're going to do here today. So let's get started. I'm just going to use over here to mix my paint, just to make it nice and easy and clear for you to see. We're going to start with quite a lot of white. So you can open your white for me there. This part is going to go quite quickly because it's the background and we need it all to dry before we can continue. Don't stress if I go quickly here, we will slow it down. All right, so you can take either your large brush or your medium brush. We're going to use what we call a wet brush technique. That means that you dip your brush in the water and you make sure that it is just a little damp. You don't want it to be dripping, but you don't want it to be too dry either. The reason I say that is because with Dala paints, we do want to dilute it a little bit so it glides onto the canvas a little bit smoother. So you're going to take a little bit of white and we're going to add that there. Let me just have a look. So add a bit of white, you can make it a nice big scoop. If you guys can see nice and closely here. Okay, so we can call it 3 parts white. So when I talk in parts, it doesn't mean you have to have the same amount of me, you just make it 3 scoops or 2 scoops. It's the easiest way. And then we're going to add the tiniest little bit of red. Now when I say little, I really mean like the littlest bit. I'm just going to have a look here. My screen seems frozen, so I just want to make sure that it's not on that side. Can everyone still see what I'm doing? There we go. Great, okay. So, literally the tiniest little bit of red. Can you see how little I have there? There we go. So it's going to make a very light pink in the end when we do mix it in. There we go. I hope you guys have lovely music there in the background. It's always so nice to paint with a little bit of music. Get the creative juices flowing. If you do have wine, just a little tip, the more you drink, the better you paint. Hi guys. We're back. Sorry for that. Sorry. Welcome to South Africa. If it's not the power, it's the internet. We're going to continue where we were. We'll just wait for everyone to join again. What I was saying about art is it doesn't use our organizational brain. So the more you try and stress and the more you try and get it perfect, the worse it goes. I often tell my students, close your eyes and paint. Now I know that might freak you out a bit. We're not going to close our eyes today, but just relax. We're going to be really calm. This has to be a stress release day, so we're not going to make it too tense. Okay, let's see. Just a few more people that are going to join and then we'll continue. Is everyone okay? I'm just going to repeat the last instruction just to make sure that everyone knows. We got 3 big scoops of white, a little bit of black, and a little bit of red. You can see I haven't mixed them yet just to make sure that we can see everything. You can go through your booklet so long and see the steps that we're doing. We're going to paint a nice picket fence behind our plants to give it a nice background. Let's have a look. I think we just have a few people left still to let in. If you want to go ahead and start mixing this beautiful gray that we're going to make, you're welcome to. So we have a tiny little bit of black, tiny little bit of red, and some white. So you can mix that in. We're probably going to be adding some more color till we're happy with what we end up with. You'll see mine's very pink, so I need to make sure that that gets a lot lighter. If you just joined, please don't stress. We've not gone on. We've not skipped a step. We have just taken the 3 colors that we used. 3 scoops of white, a little bit of gray, and a little bit of red, and we've mixed them all together. So you've not missed anything. You're right on cue to join us. Let's just wait, 1 or 2 people still that need to come in. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really awesome if you can get creative for the right cause. You're really making a difference in people's lives today, not only getting creative, and it's really, really awesome. Okay. Let's make sure that everyone is in. We don't want to miss anyone, don't want to get anyone behind. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of black to my mixture. As you can see, I've ended up with a baby pink, which is not what I want to end up with. I don't want to notice the red as much. Is everyone still okay? Great. Okay, good to see you guys. All right, I've taken a little bit more black. I think that everyone is back now. Take a little bit more black and just mix it in with that color you ended up with. You want to end up with a gray. It's going to be a warm gray. That's why we're adding the pink to it. That's why we're adding the red to create a warm gray, which is going to be a very nice background. We've got the red that's complementary to the gray. Yeah.
Can I ask, is it supposed to be more pink or more gray? Because yours looks very pink.
Mine is very pink right now. I've added a little bit more black to it. I'm going to come closer to the camera so you can see. It's not actually that pink. Can you see? It's almost still white. But I wouldn't stress too much about it at this stage, because after this, we're going to add highlights and lowlights. So as long as you don't end up with a baby pink, we do want it to be more gray than pink, then you'll be perfectly fine. So you just want a warm gray. We don't really want it to look pink. Do we have everyone back?
I believe so.
Okay, so let's get going. We are going to paint the top 2/3 of our canvas vertically. So When you paint, it's not like a pencil. I don't want you to grip it tightly like you're focusing on an essay. I want you to relax and hold your brush closer to the edge. It's not like a pencil where you get as close as possible. This is for when you want detail. This is for when you want background. So I want you to relax your wrist. If you want to turn your painting, make it more comfortable, you are welcome. We're going to paint vertically for the first 2/3 of the painting. So I'm just going to go up and down. I'm not going to worry. Can you see there's streaking? I'm not going to worry about that. That's what makes a painting beautiful. So we are just going to go vertically. Don't worry about the perfect line at the bottom either. All you're going to do is just cover that top half. Please make sure to keep your brush wet and don't layer on your paint too thick, as we'll have to wait till everything dries before we can continue. So with the background, please, please, please don't get that paint too thick. Try and use the same bit of paint and stretch it over the canvas as much as you can. If you dip your brush in water, it also makes the paint go a little bit further. It's very important to not get it too thick. Remember, 2 more layers will be added onto this before we even continue. And then that all needs to dry. Lovely thing about acrylic though is it dries very quickly. My mom told me I got the perfect job because I'm a teacher and I love talking. So now I'm just literally being paid to talk. Now people don't have a choice, they just have to listen. Awesome, isn't it? So you've got your top 2/3 covered. There we go. So can you see how my brush is flattening every time it hits? Have a look there. It flattens. I'm not keeping it upwards because that's going to create streaks. It goes flat and flat and flat and flat. That way you've got a beautiful smooth back. If you don't flatten it when it hits the canvas, it's going to leave a mark like this. Can you see how there's a line? Not sure if you can see. You want to keep it soft. Then you're going to do exactly the same, but horizontally, only on the bottom third. Don't worry if I'm going a bit quick for you. It's just the background. We're going to speed up a little bit. We will slow down as soon as we hit the detail. So I'm going, it's exactly the same color. All I'm doing is going vertically. There we go. And I'm just going up to the third of my painting. I don't want it to go too high. You can actually not really see a difference. I love that the light is hitting it like that because you can see where I've gone vertical versus where I've gone horizontal. There we go. At this stage, if you're already done and you want to paint your edges, you're welcome. Please just be careful when you come close to the canvas that you don't end up getting it on. I'm going to give 2 minutes for everyone to just finish their background plainly, and then we'll continue. Just a reminder, please, to not make it too thick. Keep that paint thin on your canvas. There we go.
That's such a beautiful color, Tashai.
It's a lovely color.
There have been a few people that have joined the call. Can you just give us a quick little reminder of the ratio of colors there?
Yeah, so what I've done is I've taken 3 big scoops of white. I've added in the tiniest little bit of red. Red is a very strong color and mixes. It takes over other colors when you mix it. It's called a heavy color. And a tiny little bit of black. Black is also a heavy color. So 3 scoops of big white and not even a third of a scoop of black and red. And then you just cover your whole painting. The top 2/3 you go vertically and the bottom third we're going horizontally. There's barely any difference. You'll see the difference when we start adding our highlights and our lowlights.
Lovely, thank you so much.
Your pleasure. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes. You can crank up your music if you want. Quickly do that background. Once you're done, just give me a wave so I can see where everyone is. I don't want to run ahead without everyone. So do you know what I think? I literally believe that everyone is an artist. I really do. I think that each one of us loved doing this while we were little in primary school and pre-primary school, and then somehow in our civilization that just kind of got lost. And I think that's really sad because there's so much that you can gain. It's actually really great for your mental health. It doesn't even matter whether the painting comes out great. It's so good to just sit down and express yourself and just really get some creative juices flowing. And it forces you to sit still. When last have you sat still for more than an hour? Especially during this time.
If you want to, you can use your reactions tab. There is a thumbs up option. So if you are ready to move on, you're welcome to just use that there thumbs up option, just so that we can get a good indication of who's ready for the next step.
So I've got mine all done, just waiting for everyone, and then we'll continue. We are going to go a bit quicker with these steps. So if you do fall behind, I just want you to look in the booklet, and in there, we do need to let the whole piece dry. So we do need to get that done quickly. We would rather spend time on our beautiful Monstera leaves and the detail on there than our picket fence. I'm going to go ahead and mix the next colors along. If you're ready, you can mix it. I'm not going to paint yet. If you still have that color left, all you have to do is add some white. If you don't have that color left yet anymore, then you need to just remix that color again. Let me know if you need help with that. And you want to try and make it lighter than what you just painted. So we're going to have a lighter version of it down here. And then we're going to have a darker version of it up here. So the lighter version will have a lot of white in, and the same ratio as before of the black and red. And the darker version, you'll just add a little bit more black. So I'm going to mix them here so you can see what we want to end up with. We don't want it to end up close to black. It's just a nice charcoal grey, probably not even charcoal, a little bit lighter than charcoal. Think those terrible school socks that you had to wear when we still had school uniforms that came all the way up to your knees where your skirt met, and that kind of grey. Okay, so I've got my nice grey there. We're not washing our brush. I'll let you know when we wash our brush. I like having it all mixed in together. Remember to keep your brush wet though. We don't want it dripping, but we do want to keep it wet. Okay. I'm going to give 2 more minutes, and we are going to continue so we can keep up with getting this whole painting done. If you haven't painted your edges, please don't stress about that. That's a small thing, and we can do that afterwards if all else fails.
Tashai, I think in the 2 minutes that we wait, I would love to ask you another question. I know that you, in your own capacity, are doing a fair amount of work in the community. Can you give us a little indication of what that is?
Yeah, of course. That's really awesome. Me and my wife run an MPO as well. It started as a sports academy. It's called Phoenix Sports Academy, and you're welcome to find us on Facebook. Phoenix spelled like the Greek myth, Phoenix Sports Academy. And we started by just creating a mentorship program through sports. And then we quickly realized that a lot of these children's basic needs aren't being met. So our children would get tired very quickly and even faint while we're playing. And then we started realizing that some of them don't even eat every day. Never mind, only one meal a day. So we started feeding, and then 2020 hit. Obviously, our whole game plan had to change because no more sport was allowed. So we started a COVID emergency feeding scheme, which on Mandela Day fed 2,873 children from 5 different communities. So we are also very active on that side, and we're so happy for our partnership with Call to Care, and they guide us and they help us to get everything up on its feet, and we really just love being in the community. It's really great.
That is awesome. Fantastic. Remember to give us a thumbs up if you're ready to move on to the next step. We do have Manelli that has raised their hand. Manelli, would you like to ask a question? You're welcome to unmute your mic. Or if anyone has any other questions, you're welcome to ask. I do see a couple of thumbs up so far. Or you can just like show us your thumb. That works too. We can see you.
Okay, great. I think we're going to continue. We are going to have time for it to dry in between. So then if you are not done yet, then you can continue working during that time. We're just watching the time on our side. So what you're going to do now is we're going to make it a picket fence in the background. I don't want you to stress about this. So the quicker you do it, the easier a straight line is. I want you to make straight lines on your top 2/3, just with that light gray, so you can easily fix it if you've gone a little bit skew. The quicker you work, the straighter those lines will be. I know I'm not one to talk about being straight, but at least with artistic lines, I'm pretty good at it. There we go. So I know you can barely see them. I'm going to mark mine with a darker gray.
Sorry, Tashai, was that with the light gray or the dark gray?
The light gray, just so you know where you want to paint it. Then you're going to go over it with the dark gray once you're happy. So have a look. So now I'm going over it with the darker gray. And now I can see, oops, sorry for that. Now I can see where I've painted them. Can you see now? You're probably going to go over these lines quite a few times till you're happy with them. If you want to make it easier, you turn your canvas upside down completely and you do it downward. So make sure you've got those lines in place. They don't have to be perfectly straight and they don't have to be perfectly seen, if that makes sense. They don't have to be solid lines. There we go. Remember, this is in the background, so also don't stress too much about it at this stage. When you've got those lines, you're going to turn your painting the right way around again if you did end up turning it. And we are going to just add some low lights. So I'm just going to, just in random places, have a look. I'm just adding some low lights. Don't worry about where they are. I don't want you to do perfect little low lights. This is literally just taking your hand across. Where the paint sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick. We're not going to stress about it too much. This is really the background. So if all else fails, you paint pink over it and we start again. Please don't worry yourself about these little bits. You will barely notice them, which is very demotivating, but it does play a part in the painting. It just isn't something to stress about. So you see there I added low lights. Now once you're happy with those gray lines, we're going to take the lighter gray. I'm going to add even a little bit more white. And I want it to be just an off-white color. So it's not even going to be a gray anymore. I hope you can see the color clearly here. It's literally a chalk white. It's not even gray. And I'm going to do the same thing, trying to not go in the exact same places as the dark spots. I'm going to add highlights. And I understand I'm moving a little bit quick here. It's just for the background. We will slow down again. If you really are feeling lost, just stick up your hand and we'll go back a step or two. There we go. So we're just adding highlights and we're trying to not be on the same spot as where we just put low lights. If it does end up on the same spot, it's also not the end of the world. All of this is very, very relaxed. So this is just expression. It's good to get everything loose. Remember to keep your paintbrush flat. Especially if you don't paint often, that's very difficult because you're used to holding it like a pencil. Try your very best to correct that. It will just give your painting another layer of technique. Can you see there? I haven't worried about straight lines. I haven't worried about perfect placements. I hope you guys can see that. Then we are going to turn our brushes from vertical to horizontal. We're going to take the dark color and we're going to do the exact same on the bottom. Have a look. I've just gone across it. I don't care where the paint sticks and where it doesn't stick. At this point, it's just for getting a little bit of depth in the painting. There we go. If you can see from your side. And then I'm going to add the highlights on top again, trying to stick in different places than where we just hit the low lights. It's okay if I'm moving a little bit fast. We're going to let it dry after this step, so don't worry too much. You've got the booklet and it shows you exactly the steps we've just done. I also want to tell you that sometimes we faff so much about the paintings that you'll just never stop painting. So if you like what you've done, stop. That's probably the best advice I've ever gotten as an artist, because often we keep painting until we mess it up and then we want to start again. So try your best, and if you're happy with it, put that OCD in your pocket and let it be. Let it be. Let it go. Let it go. Okay, so last step in this. I know I'm moving super quick. Once again, it is in your booklet. Don't stress too much. I'm going to add a tiny little bit more black to my gray. Just one shade darker. Have a look. Can you see the difference there? It's not very dark still. You can see on the painting, it's just one layer darker. If you've already got a pretty much dark gray going on there, you can leave it as the same one. And this is the only thing that is a little bit detailed. We're going to go over those lines we decided on. I find it easier turning my painting sideways. And we're just going to go over those lines with a little bit of a darker gray. Once again, don't stress about it. This is background. So even if it doesn't end up too straight, neither does all picket fences. That's the nice thing about a picket fence. They're not made by a factory. They're made by people. There we go. So that is our first layer of our painting. So I'm going to stop rushing now. I'm going to leave you to finish it up to this point. I'm only going to give you 5 minutes to do that because this does need to dry completely before we continue. So as soon as you're happy with your painting, stop. If you want to quickly run to the bathroom at this point, pour another glass of precious gold wine, or cry about not having some, now is your chance. 5 minutes. Alex, can we maybe get some music while we have those 5 minutes, or do we have any questions from your side?
I don't have any questions from my side. Does anyone from the audience have any questions from theirs? How's everyone's pieces looking? Let us see. Maybe hold them up so that we can take a looky-see. What's going on so far? Chris Tucker, looking gorgeous. Charlene, lovely.
We got some real artists here.
Yeah, can you see Tashai from your end?
Yeah, I can't see everyone, but I can see a few people here, and it's really good to see. Let me open it a little bit more.
And if you drag down, you can see.
Yes, let me see.
At this stage, they all look very similar because.
Yes, of course. It's just it's looking beautiful, guys. It's nice. Looking lovely.
Nice.
Just a hint for if you do your own paintings and you want to get creative and get done on your own design, whenever you do a background, you add as little detail as possible, as little line work as possible. So we don't subtract from the painting. So as you can see here in the back, the lines are very, very rough. If we made them too detailed, it would pull into the front of the picture and then it wouldn't read right. So just a little home tip for you there, all for free.
I know that like when we've done the in-person events, a very handy thing you can do to make your painting dry faster is you could flap it.
Yes, we call it the little paint up.
And actually like move the painting around back and forth. So if you want to do that while doing a jig on screen, let us see.
It really worked. All right. Have you ever wondered what these are for? I was probably painting for 10 years before I realized. Let me quickly tell you. These little wooden things, let me pull them off, on the back of your paintings actually do have a purpose. So a lot of people are very heavy-handed when they paint, and the people who make these obviously know that, so they gave us a little tool for it. If you're working on a standing easel, then you probably won't press too hard, but if working on a table, it's very easy to let your weight of your hand press down. In the back of your canvas, there over here and over on this side, there's little holes. And they fit in perfectly in those holes, right? Like that and like that. And when you take a hammer and you hammer these in, they stretch out your canvas again. So have you ever had a canvas that it gets a little bit flabby once you've painted it? This is what these are for. So you hit them in there, it stretches your canvas back out and makes it look really professional. Although I barely ever use them, I've got a drawer full of these at home. If you want to use them though, that's how you do it. Okay, time to let your paintings dry. If you're still painting, please finish what you're doing and wave it around a little bit so we can get it dry and continue. How are we all feeling about schools closing again? I'm not so lucky. I work at a private school, so we're still there. I'm sure parents aren't so extremely excited that everyone's home again. You all understand teachers now. After this lockdown, teachers are so appreciated. All right. So we've done step 2 in your booklet. We are going to be moving on to step 3. So if you want to open your book there so long and read through of that, you are welcome. Okay, are we ready to continue? Your painting needs to be dry, so let's take a minute quickly and just wave it up and down, do the paint dance. Shake it, shake it, shake it. This is the point where you're going to realize if your paint's too thick. Wave it around if your paint's a little bit thick on there. Please don't put your paintbrushes down on your palette, rather leave them in your water. Acrylic dries extremely quickly, which is lovely for classes, but not so great for your brushes. So if you've forgotten your brush outside of the water, remember to always just leave it in there. You've got a cloth to dry it off with if needed. And just a little tip to keep those brushes beautiful. I often let my brushes stand in conditioner, normal hair conditioner, because they're made of hair. So it really makes your brushes nice and smooth again. If they've gone all ugly and spread out with the bristles, then you can just drop them in some conditioner. It will also get some of the paint that's stuck in there out. Right, how are we doing? How's our paintings? Are they dry yet? If your painting is semi-dry, I understand it won't be completely dry, but it should be okay to touch without losing color. Then please put a thumbs up on your profile so I can see. If not, keep banning. So it's a great thing to do in summer when we've got a social event because we don't even need air conditioning.
It looks like most people are flapping their paintings away. So I think at this stage it looks like we might be ready for the next step. Tashai.
Okay, great. We might even be ready for takeoff if we all flap together. Okay, so we're going to continue. Sorry, my dad jokes rubbed off on me. He's got a very lame sense of humor, so just bear with me if it gets a little slow in here. We are going to mix a dark green. Now, I am a primary school teacher, so tell me, boys and girls, how do we mix green? Anyone?
Blue, yellow and blue, I think.
Awesome! A lot of clever people. I'm very glad. I would be very worried if we didn't know how to mix green. So, wash your paintbrush out completely now and dry it using serviettes or a cloth. When you dry it, try and keep your bristles the same way we paint, because if you're just going to smash it in there, you're going to end up with split bristles and you can't do detail with it later. So dry that brush nicely And then once it's all dry, you're going to dip it in the water again, which seems counterintuitive, but I promise I have a point. We have to keep that brush wet to make sure that your paint glides on smoothly. We're going to mix a dark green. It's important for you to know that green also has a light color and a heavy color. So yellow is a very light color, meaning you have to add a lot of this color in for it to make any difference. Blue is an extremely heavy color, which means the smallest amount will make the biggest difference in your mix. So I would suggest add a very small amount of blue to start with. So I'm going to add a whole scoop of yellow here. We're going to be using quite a lot. Nice scoop of yellow. And the tiniest little bit of green, a little bit of blue to start with here. Look how little I have. Then you mix it in and you see what color you come out with. We don't want the light green like what I'm getting, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue in there. I almost want it to head to a ocean green, but not quite. You still want it to be green, not blue, but you want it to be very nice and dark. Okay, so I'm going to come closer with this color so you can see. Can you see there? Over here is actually easy to see. It is so dark that you can actually tell that there's blue in there, but it's not quite so dark that we're not on a plant color anymore. So I'm going to put the part there so you can see nicely. There we go. Beautiful, dark green. So now that we've mixed our color, you can take your brush and drop it in your water and use your medium or small size brush. Remember, we're still keeping our brushes wet but not dripping. So with this new brush, dip it in the water. Are we happy with our green? Now with the plants that we're painting, you do not have to put your plants in the same order as I am putting it. So you can be creative with this. You don't have to do it exactly the same way I do. Your plants, your leaves don't have to hang the same way. Your a source of light doesn't have to be the same. But I do have to let you know that if you pick a source of light, you have to stick with it. So with this painting, you can see that the light is coming from above. I'm not sure if you can see. If I painted the highlights at the bottom, it would no longer look realistic. So if you want to go ahead with what I'm doing, all the highlights and the lowlights would be exactly where they should be. If you want to do your own thing, you're welcome. Just always keep in mind where your source of light is. Now that's really easy because you're making it up. So as long as you've made it up and you stick with it, it will be fine. Okay, we got our green. I'm just going to start with 2 stems. All right, so 2 stems. Mine's going to go up and to this side. Once again, the more you worry about it, the more stressful it is. So just load your brush with the green. Loading means you put on both sides without heaping it on. And I put my pinky with the painting. If you do that, you need to make sure that your painting is dry to get that line nice. The harder you press, the thicker your line will be. The softer you press, the thinner your line will be. So you are in control.
Oh dear.
When I draw my lines, I don't hold my paintbrush like this. I turn it on its side. Can you see how thin my line gets? So we don't have it like this. We turn it on its side. That way you can really work to a very thin point. Okay, and then there's another one that is just going the opposite way, just to here. Once you've got your lines in, you can make sure that they're nice and solid. If you press hard, you're just going to end up making your lines thicker and thicker. So once again, best advice I've ever gotten. Once you're happy, stop. You can see on the screen that my lines aren't perfect. Please don't stress about yours being perfect. That's the pretty thing about art, is the imperfections. Otherwise, we would just take a photo. So let it be beautiful and unique. There we go. So we can clearly see my lines are definitely not perfect. They got a few wobbles. So please be kind to yourself. There's really not a lot of rules with art. My only rule is I don't want you to self-criticize, because all art is art. And if you saw what kind of paintings got millions of dollars for it, you'll feel so much better. Okay. Once you've got those two down, we're going to mix a little bit more yellow into our green. Just a tiny little bit, just to come out with a lighter green. There you go. I'm going to come closer to the camera now so you can see. You can actually see on the camera the darker green I mixed versus the light green that's now on my brush. Can everyone see? There we go. And you're going to add the other stems into your picture. Once again, don't worry about where they're going. It's just to have extra stems. So if you don't want to do it in the same placing I am, that's perfectly fine. If you want to copy me exactly, that's fine too. There we go. One there. If you need some inspiration, there's some lovely Monstera leaves right next to me on my chat that you can get the shapes off of. So when we break down a painting like this, it's quite easy. Okay, so I'm going to add another two. I like turning my painting just to make the angles easier. Please let me know if that confuses you. I can do it up straight if you need it. I'm going to have to put another two this way, one here, and one up here. Everyone still happy? Am I moving slow enough for everyone? Let me know if I'm a runaway train.
No, I think you're moving at a lovely pace.
Great. Okay, there's one extra stem that goes right up the top. I'm going to turn mine to stay out of the way of this beautiful light here. And it goes right through the middle of the two long stems that we just painted. Have a look here. Right through the middle. And it goes up and to the side. Try and keep your lines as thin as you can at this point. You want it to go right up here. You'll see that even mine is probably already looking different to the original piece. That's the point. Please don't worry if yours doesn't look exactly the same. So you can already see we got some light and dark here. We've got some light coming over the dark. We don't want them to look exactly the same shade of green, because plants have all beautiful shades of green. If you want to add some more stems, if you want to get a little more busy with it, you are welcome. I'm going to add another dark stem to this side. Just here, for my glass jar, where it's going to go. And have a nice.
Tashai, what inspired you to paint the Monstera?
We have one in our entertainment area. It's a beautiful area with a sunroof, and the lighting just caught the leaves so beautifully. It's such a stunning plant, and it's so detailed while being so simplistic. I just like the peace that houseplants brings to your life. I don't know if anyone else experienced that, but any house with houseplants just automatically feels so much warmer.
I love the Monstera too, because it's very easy to keep alive.
Yep. Beautiful. Great to have around.
You have to keep it, you have to water it, and it has to have sufficient light, but like pests don't eat it, and it's actually wonderful. And it grows humongous.
Yes, without too much effort. Okay, so you can see I've got my stems going here. I'm just going to wait till everyone's got that. Once again, you need to step away from your painting to see how beautiful it looks. If you look close up to mine, I'll come closer, you'll see my lines are definitely not perfect. I'm not worried too much about the angles or anything else right now. Have a look at that. When you take it very far away, all of a sudden it looks like a masterpiece. So it's a great life lesson to have. Perspective is very important. If you're feeling a little bit demotivated, please just take a step away from the table and have a look at it from a little bit further away. So I'm going to give another 2 minutes. Just get your stems down. Then we're going to continue with our leaves.
You guys give us a thumbs up.
Yes, if you're done with the step, please give us a thumbs up so we know we can continue. Can you see how your background's already fading into the background? You were probably so worried about getting it right, and now we barely even see it. Once again, if you are happy with your piece, stop. Greatest advice ever given. We don't want to overpaint here. We want to make sure that we have everything the way we want it. If you make a mistake, please don't worry about it too much. You can just paint over it, or you just make it part of your piece. The biggest thing about art is confidence. So make sure you own it. Your plants might have had different things. Okay.
If you're feeling confident and want to show your painting on screen, let us see. Let us see how you're doing and where you're at. Nice, Eden. Lovely. Chris,
That's beautiful. Lovely. Haley, that's looking very nice too. Beautiful.
Chantal and Louise, they're looking fantastic, guys.
Great, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, let's continue with those leaves. Are we ready? So your stems that are darker, we're going to add the dark green to the leaves. The stems that are lighter, we'll be using the light green. So let's start with the darker stems, your two largest ones. The ones we painted first is going to be those of the Monstera leaves. So we're going to leave those right alone. And we are going to start, I think, with the lowest one. So you have one here in the corner that is going downward. So we're going to take some dark green, and all we're going to do is add some more leaves to it. They're hanging down lower. So all you do, make sure your brush is turned so that it hangs downward, as if those leaves are just drawn down by gravity. So we want them to end up towards the bottom of your painting. And we don't want them too thick. So as you get to the edge of a leaf, this is probably very important to know, you give less and less pressure. I'm going to show you here on the side. The more pressure you give, the thicker the line. As you flick it, it goes thinner. Can you see? So if you can control how hard you press, you can have any thickness of line. You can create the tiniest little lines with the same brush as you create thick lines. So we painted those leaves on. This is still the very base layer, so we're not too worried yet. Now on the next leaf up, we're going to also create some leaves. I'm just going to press down with my brush and create some leaves on there. Here we go. If you are leaving little white specks, if your canvas is shining through, that means that your brush is not wet enough. So if you see that your paint is not covering your canvas properly, your brush is not wet enough, all you need to do is dip your brush, make sure it's not dripping, because otherwise you've got other problems, but then your paint will glide on smooth. And you'll also be able to create thinner lines easier. So we're going to create that beautiful big leaf here at the bottom also. The faster you paint, the more relaxed you paint, the nicer it comes out. As soon as you try and slow down and stress about it, often we end up with very wiggly lines. Squiggly lines, they don't end up very smooth. So we've just added that. Slow me down if I'm going too slow, if I'm going too fast for you. If you want to make your green darker, you just add more blue. If you want to go lighter, you just add more yellow. So at this point, you are free to play with those colors. There is another dark line that comes up right next to that big just painted. This one is quite interesting. It almost has the texture of a lavender flower. So all you're going to do to get that effect is you're going to turn your brush, once again on its thin side, not on its thick side. And you're just going to press. You're just going to go press, 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 press. And as you get to the top, you press less and less and less. Can you see there how we're creating like a little lavender bush effect? There we go. Can you see? So that creates a very nice texture without you painting every single brown part of it. There we go. It's really nice. And then when you're done with that, we're moving on to the light yellow. I'm just going to give a minute for everyone to be done with the dark green. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. With this painting, we're using all wet brush technique. There are other techniques for other paintings which requires your brush to be more dry, but this one we want detail and beautiful lines, so we're keeping our brush wet. We never say those words in Afrikaans because then it just turns out really, really terrible. We keep it in English. Someone got that joke. All right. We're going to continue with the light green. Once again, all of these steps are in your book. So if you feel a little bit behind, please don't be shy to just ask me to go back. I really don't mind. Or just have a look in your book and it explains exactly which colors to mix as well. So your lighter green, what you're going to do with your lighter green is we got some thick leaves that are coming right up here in the middle that I'm realizing I don't have a stem for yet. So with my light green, I'm adding one more stem. It's going to come right out here in the middle. To there. There we go. Can we see? So this middle stem, I just added. If you feel like yours is already full enough, you don't even have to add it. At any point, if you feel like your painting is done, you can stop. There we go. Okay, so we're going to add leaves to that stem. And that stem has completely different leaf structure to any other flora that we've painted here. So it has longer leaves and they're not as neat. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to press hard and then flick. And it's not very neatly, the leaves aren't very neatly placed. All we need to do is make sure that the top part of the leaf is thinner than where you connect it to the base, and then it will look perfectly fine. So thin at the top, thick where it meets. Remember, the thinner the line, the lighter you press. So if you want to correct those edges, please make sure to use very little pressure. I also need to tell you that every single painting has a point where you think, oh crap, I'm going to throw this in the bin, and you get past that point. So if at any point you feel like, oh no, I can't do this, I'm going to just hold on, do a few more strokes. We really do get past that. And the end result is always beautiful. Trust me, I got you. Okay, we're going to do exactly the same leaves on the top plant, although that is closer to our source of light. So our source of light is coming from up here, right? If we look at our painting, this is darker because it's under this. You can see that the light is coming from this side. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow into my green for those top leaves, just a little bit, because I want it even lighter than before. There we go, even lighter than before. And I'm going to add those top leaves with that very bright color. So again, just pressing and flicking. Can you see? I know it looks a lot easier than it actually is, but as long as the tips of your leaves are thin, that's all we need to worry about. As long as those tips remain nice and thin. If your paint is too thick and you're really struggling to get it on nice and thin, dip your brush in the water and add some water to your palette when you mix. So that you mix your water into your palette to make your paint a little bit thinner, it'll glide easier. It just has the danger of being see-through, so don't add too much water to your color. Otherwise, your picket fence will most definitely show in the background. There we go. Let's keep those leaves nice and thin. Once it gets to the edge, there we go. See? Everyone have a look at that. And right here, we're going to pause again, so you can see we're like a runaway train for a little bit, and then we pause and we let people finish, and then we get going again. So if you want to quickly do something, if you want to finish what you're busy with, now is the time. Remember to put your brush in the water while we do that. We don't want our brushes to dry out. I'm going to leave this right in the middle so you can still have a look at it if you need to. Once you're finished, stop. I know it seems very common sense, but it's very difficult. We need to let this dry again before we're adding more layers. So it needs to dry. If you want to be flapping it around again, even better. Do the paint dance, get it dry, and then we're going to continue. You guys are super great. It's actually really strange doing this vertically because there's not a lot of interaction. I feel like I'm laughing at my own joke, so I really hope you guys are laughing on that side.
I am, but I also noticed on Daniela de Jager's Zoom that the gentleman sitting next to her was bouncing his head while you were flapping the painting. It made me laugh.
I'm very great to hear. Okay, so we're gonna just flap up it. Make sure it dries nicely. I'm gonna leave mine here so everyone can still see the steps they need to see. The only thing that you might want to just double check before letting it dry completely is that your dark lines, your Monstera lines, they are in the background. So you don't need to really touch them up if you're happy with them. But if you feel like they're disappearing a little bit, you can go over with your very dark green again to make sure that they are thick enough, because they are obviously the main focus of our painting. So I'm just going to go over them a little bit. There we go, and then I'm going to let that dry. There we go.
I think it would be a nice opportunity if everyone wanted to show their painting on screen so that everyone else can take a look at the different types of leaves you guys are painting. Just remember that in the top right-hand corner, there's the speaker view and the gallery view. So if you just click on that, you'll see what everyone else is doing. And if you show your painting, then everyone can see the different types of leaves that you guys have decided to put onto your Monstera. There we go.
You'll see it's very different.
Take a look at everyone else's painting, guys, and it's actually really amazing to see the different interpretations.
Awesome. That's really great, guys.
Art pieces. Oh, Haley, yours is looking lovely.
Make sure that your stems go all the way off your painting. So if your stems are hanging in mid-air, make sure that they go all the way off the painting, because our jar won't be standing like in the original. So if they're hanging there, it seems like they're going to fall out, if you understand what I mean. So they have to obviously be in your jar. So in this picture, because we've got it square, we're going to make sure they come off the painting completely. Great. Anyone with any questions? This very tricky painting that we're doing, you guys all seem to be doing so great. Are you feeling a little bit less nervous now? It's so funny, this is supposed to be stressless, but very often there's a lot of stress before we stop stressing, isn't
Oh,
there?
Annette, yours looks lovely. I saw when you asked that question, a few people's heads shook a little. I think it's because, I'm not the one, I'm not painting, but I would imagine it's that big leaf, I think that's the sort of crescendo of this art piece. So, but I mean, at the moment, it's looking so lovely.
Yes, and don't worry about it. That's why we are doing it's like you're doing all the training before we get to the main part, which is also why we're painting a little bit faster here, because I want to give you as much time as you need to get your Monstera right. So if I rush it just a little bit, please just be patient with me. It's for a good reason. If you're done, please shake your painting.
It's very, very nice.
I'm loving the painting
as well.
There we go. All right, shake those paintings dry. Make sure they dry properly. We're almost ready to continue. We've got to add highlights and lowlights before we even start with our Monstera leaves. So just keeping us up to date. We are now at step number 4. We're going to add lowlights by adding more blue to the green mix and the highlights by adding more yellow. I'm going to start with the lowlights. If your painting is not completely dry, it's not that important at this point. I just wanted to get it a little bit drier so we don't add wet paint on wet paint, which takes very long to dry. So what I'm going to do for lowlights, I'm just going to add more blue to my green mix, and just here in the corner, because I want to keep the other corner for the light green. So you want to go even darker than your darkest green. At this point, it will be a little bit bluish, but we don't want it blue. And a fun fact, did you know that a shadow is never black? A shadow or a low light is never, ever, ever black in a painting. Very often, a shadow will just be the darkest color mixed with a little bit of black. If your shadow ends up black, it doesn't look realistic at all. So we are going to stay with our darkest color on this palette, which is our phthalo blue, which is the only blue you have in your palette. Don't stress. And we are going to we're going to add it on the lower parts, keeping in mind that our light source is coming from the top. So our darker spots, as you can see here, will be all along the bottom of things. So we are going to be adding low lights in basically everything. Now this is where the placement becomes important. Have a look at your stems. Your eye will pick up that some stems are in front of other stems. Can you see here that these stems come over my Monstera stems? If I go ahead and add a low light right over them, things are going to become very confusing. So when we add our low lights, see if I want to add in this low lights in here, I will add a low light on this side, but stop when I get to that leaf and continue again at the top. We want to make sure. And it's just a thin line. You can barely see. If I come closer, you can most likely see. There we go. Just a little bit darker. A whole lot of what we do in painting barely gets noticed with the naked eye, but it all adds in to how realistic a piece looks when we're finished with it. So even though it all seems very useless right now, I promise everything has a purpose. Every little layer with a tiny little color change is important to this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and add some low lights on all of my stems. So just making sure that I always remember which stems are in the front and which stems are in the back. You can have a look and do it exactly like mine, or you can go ahead and do your own thing if you're happy with that. Art is all about expression, so no one is going to judge you here. You see, just a little bit, and you can see there, even if you make a mistake, all you need to do is just straighten that line again. There we go, all fixed. It's not that we never make mistakes in art, we're just very clever in disguising them. So please don't feel like you're the only one that makes a mistake and tries to hide it on your canvas. Every single artist does that. Did you know that the Mona Lisa's smile was repainted over 36 times. And that's like the most notable thing about her. It was repainted over and over and over again by the biggest artist that has ever existed. He had to do it over and over. You can see it when they do x-rays of paintings. It's actually really cool to see all the different ways he had her smiling, and he ended up with the legendary Mona Lisa smile, which is such a beautiful painting to look at. So can you see in my leaf here, when I'm on the lighter green, you can see the lowlights. Might not be so easy to see on the dark greens, but it will pick up, but you can see clearly on the lighter green where I've added those lowlights. When I come to the top leaves, I'm not going to add as many lowlights. I'm going to keep it very light, just on a few of the leaves, just along the bottom. I'm going to add just a few stripes. There we go. Just for some depth. So the reason we add lowlights is for realism. So as you look closer, you really see the imperfections. You can see that my edges aren't as thin as I like them to be, but when it moves away, none of that matters. Can you see how beautiful that turns out? That's all you need to remember. That's what we're going to focus on. So I've added my lowlights. I'm happy with those.
So Tashai, there is a question here from Chantal. It was before you went into the lowlights, but her question is, how does one get lavender? And I'm assuming it's the color, but maybe can you run through how we can get that color lavender in case someone would like to put in an extra little lavender color, and also how the texture, run through that texture again there.
Yeah, so the texture of the lavender, all I do, I'm going to do it over here so you can clearly see. All I do for the lavender is I press. And every time I press, I just make sure that I turn my brush a little bit so it gets towards a point. Can you see? So flat. And as I get closer to the edge, I make sure that it gets thinner. So there we got a lovely lavender. Does that make sense? Then, if you want to add a bright purple, might actually look really nice as part of that lavender. Let me just quickly see if we've got the right red and blue. I'm going to do a quick show while everyone else is busy with their low lights to mix a lavender if you want to add that splash. I'm not going to add it on the main painting just to keep things simple, but I will give you the clues. Because red and blue are very heavy colors, we're going to be careful with both. Blue is heavier than red, so I'm going to add literally, because we need very little, and only half of that blue. So you had a tiny little bit of red, you need even tinier bit of blue. There we go. Mix it together. If you have too much of either, you're going to end up with a brown. Or your purple is going to be, I'm going to move it over here. Your purple is going to be too red or too purple. You'll clearly see once you add white to it. So we're going to go ahead and add some white to it to get our lavender, because that's a very dark purple. And then you can add whichever color you think is still needed. So if I mix that in, that was actually a pretty good guess. There we go, there's the lavender. So you saw it was red and even half of that blue, and then I've just added some white to it. So there's a beautiful lavender color. You've got all the colors you need in your kit to add a little splash of something else if you want to get creative. If you need to add lowlights to your lavender, you will use blue. And you will just add it to the side. Can you see there's a darker side of the lavender? If you need to add highlight, I would just add a little bit of white. So let's just take some white from here. And there you've got your highlight. Okay, so if you want to make your lavender purple, you've got creative license. This is your masterpiece. So if you want to do that, it will be quite complimentary. If you don't like it, then it doesn't work. Don't stress about it, just paint over it. That's the nice thing about art. By the time people come visit your house, you're like, yeah, I painted this like an hour. I was so good at it. No one knows what you did during it, so just enjoy it. I'm going to continue with the highlights. So with the highlights, what we do is we are going to take a very yellow green. So I'm going to mix more yellow into my green. Can you see I'm making that a very light green? Now on your dark greens, this is all you're going to use. You're going to use that light green. and I'll show you how that works. I'm just going to do it, and the highlights won't really be at the bottom because obviously that's not the parts that are closest to our light source, the sun or the light in the room. It's going to be on the opposite side of your low light. I'm going to show you on a spot that's easy to see. Can you see here is the low light? So I do not want to go here with my highlight to add my highlight on top. Can you see? So a highlight just really changes the whole feel of your painting. This is where it becomes realistic. It's awesome to see. So go ahead, don't add too much highlights because it's only where the sun catches. It's not on the whole leaf. So you won't have it everywhere. Remember, it's always on the side of the light source. So even though here is on the same side as the yellow, I am going to put it on this side because our light is coming from there. See? I'm not getting it perfect either. Look at that lines. They're so broken. That's the whole point. Sun doesn't reflect in perfect lines. You can turn it on the side if it makes it easier for you. I'm just going to add a highlight here. There we go. You don't have a highlight everywhere, just on specific places. Don't overdo your highlighting. It's very difficult to go back after that. So, just going to add a little bit of a... Okay. So your highlights. This top leaf will have the most highlights. So I don't know if you can see on the main picture behind me, you'll be able to see that there's a lot more yellow on that top one, and it is just going to be a lot thicker there because obviously the light really catches on those leaves. Here we go. Please let me know if I'm going too fast. It's really difficult for me to gauge how you guys are doing, so please speak up if you need me to slow down. I really don't mind. We're a team here. We're going to come out with a masterpiece. Okay. So you can see that top leaf really has a lot of yellow, and even though this is the same kind of plant, it won't have as much yellow. We'll just have spots of yellow on here, just to bring out that color a little bit. So we don't really want to notice that there's yellow. It's really just, it catches your eye, it makes it more realistic. This giant light shows you perfect highlights. So if you look at my face, you'll see that spots of highlights, but your brain doesn't notice white and peach and darker peach and red. It just notices a realistic image. So that's all we're trying to create.
Renee has just requested to please slow down a few ticks.
Okay, cool. We'll slow down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little while to do those highlights. I'm going to go nice and slow. I'm just adding random highlights on all of my plant leaves, just keeping in mind my light source. We don't want to make it opposite to the light source. Other than that, you really have free reign with your highlights. You can do whatever you need to do. Try and make your lines really nice and natural. We don't want them perfectly straight lines because that is not at all what nature is about. It's human architecture that requires perfection. Plants are very organic shapes. So just enjoy this part. This is really quite calming for me because there's no pressure in getting shapes right. You've already painted what you need to paint. You're just now adding beautiful things. If you want to grab another glass of wine, go ahead. Remember, the more you drink, the better you paint. I'm so sorry it's lockdown for everyone who's stuck without it. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to continue. Don't rush, just so I know on my side. Remember to leave your brush in water if you're taking a bit of a break. If you want to go to the bathroom, now is probably the best time.
Hi Tashai, while we wait, maybe you can just share just some insights about, which medium you prefer using, and what your favorite medium is, rather.
All right, okay, so for me, I really like acrylic because I'm a very impatient person And acrylic is a very fast drying paint. It has its pros and cons because an oil painting you can rework and change up over days and days and days, but acrylic you'll have to paint over if you want to go back on a step. So I really like acrylic because it's quick, it dries, and it really slides onto your canvas quite nicely. I really don't think that you need expensive paints in order to paint a beautiful picture, as long as you know how to work with your medium. So if you've got a very thick paint, like the Jala we're using, you just have to keep in mind to keep your brush wet, add a little bit of water to your palette to have that smooth on. If your paint is too thin, there's actually a really, really cheap hack. You add a tiny little bit of normal cooking flour, and that thickens it right up, and that makes the color a lot more vibrant. So I really don't think it's necessary to buy very expensive things. You can really just buy a canvas from Dala or Crazy Store. We don't have to spend a lot of money in order to create beautiful art. I would say, especially if you're starting out, I literally paint on wooden board or anything else just to get your practice on. And if you really want to start selling, then you can think about going very professional. But this is just as great as any other paint that I've used. As you can see, it covers the canvas beautifully. I'm not having any problems with it as long as you know how to use it.
Thanks, Tashai. That's very insightful. And what inspires you in terms of your subject matter? What do you enjoy painting?
Many different things. I have to say I really enjoy everyday things. I don't very often paint spectacular things. I like to see the spectacular in something that is very normal. So I really like stills of landscapes, and this is obviously my first plant piece, but definitely not my last. And I really enjoy actually body art. So anything that is extraordinary in its ordinariness, like I like using the human body as a canvas, which is very, very interesting. If you've ever had a look, you can just Google body art. It's incredible what they do. So my inspiration comes from everyday things. My beautiful wife, I paint my dogs, I paint our garden. It's just something that really makes me peaceful, and really anything that makes me feel good, because whatever you paint has emotion attached to it. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but if you see a painting, you can straight away have a look into an artist's soul. And that's why paintings are so expensive, because you're literally buying a piece of someone. You're buying an experience that's been immortalized, something they've felt that is now actually out there on a piece of canvas, which is quite extraordinary.
Awesome, thanks so much. So if everyone is ready to proceed, let us know with your thumbs up. You don't have to do the reactions, you can just show us, we can see you. Got a one from Mignon, Jennifer, Edmund, nice.
Okay.
Just want to see general consensus. How are you feeling, Renee? Do you feel comfortable to move on at this stage? Yep, awesome. Yeah, that's a big thumbs up from Renee. Cool. Thanks so much.
Great. So that very dark green you mixed. It's important that we use the very dark green you mixed, because that is the blueness we kind of wanted. We don't want it very yellow or very bright, because Monstera leaves, I don't know if you can see in my face picture, not my painting picture, you can actually see the Monstera leaves. They are a very, very dark, deep green. It is not like a flower petal or something else that needs to be a very bright, vibrant green. So we are going to go ahead and use our big brush to mix again. It's always just a lot easier because we need quite a lot of paint for this. And you're going to just add a whole scoop of white to where you've mixed your dark green. So I'm just going to go ahead and scoop it on there. Use some of the green I mixed here. And then you're going to mix it in. We want to end up -2 white. I'm going to add more green in there. And some more blue. We want to end up with a pastel color while keeping the depth, if that makes sense. So we want to keep that beautiful blue side there. There we go. That's the perfect color. I'm going to come closer to the camera now so you all can see. So it's not quite a baby green. It's still got some weight to it. Have a look. It's almost a mint green, but a little bit...
Tashai, I'm sorry. Can you please explain this color again from the start?
Yes, of course. So we added 2 parts blue, 2 parts yellow and 1 part blue. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to start just on a different spot on my palette so you can see. I'll start over here. We added 2 parts yellow. Here we go. 2 parts yellow. And 1 part blue. All that means is you're taking half the amount of blue than you did yellow. There we go. Half the amount of blue than you did yellow because blue is such a heavy color. We're going to mix that together. We're going to come out with a really nice dark green. Can you see there the dark green? So 2 parts blue, 1 part yellow. That just means we half the amount of blue to yellow. Once we're happy with that color, all we do is add a nice big scoop of white. Add a little bit first and make it lighter until you're happy with your color rather than making it too light. So I'm going to add a little bit of white. I'm going to mix it in. It seems a little bit too dark still, you can see from here. It seems a little bit dark still, so I'm going to take another little bit of white. There we go. Now I'm heading to the right color. You see, I can even make it a little bit lighter, but I actually quite like this green. So you do want it to be nice and white, but you don't want it to be a baby green. There. So mine here is actually a little bit light. Let's try and go for this one. Is that understandable? Is everyone happy? Okay, you can add your big brush to the water. We're going to use our medium brush. If you want to use your small brush, you are welcome, but we're first going to fill in the leaves. So I would stick to my medium one, just while we get the shape of the leaves. We're going to start on the one. If you are right-handed, I'd start on this one. If you're left-handed, I'd start on this one. I know that gets a bit complicated, but because it's wet and we often put our hands down, it's important to make sure that you're not going to smudge it. Now I'm going to do an outline of a Monstera leaf, but what I really want to do is, Rob, do you mind passing me the Monstera leaf in the window? I just want to put it here so everyone can see the shape. I think that's going to be a lot easier. So I will do the outline for you, but I want to show you organically that this shape, every single leaf is different, but they all have the same overall shape. It's almost like a heart. It is so beautiful. Here we go. Here's a Monstera leaf. Here we go with a nice Montessori art lesson. Very natural. So can you see? We've almost got a heart shape. Let me turn it so you can see it's a heart. Have a look. There's actually a heart shape. So it's got a point at the bottom. And we can see the heart. We can see that even though it's one leaf, this leaf is disconnected at points. Can you see here? So that's where the white parts come in. Every single leaf looks different. As long as you maintain your heart shape, where you put your gaps is not that important. We will catch up on where to put the highlights on your specific painting once we get there. So you can see you've got your heart shape and then you've got these gaps. So in your mind, you need to see these heart shapes, thank you, in order to get them painted. So I'm going to start with my top one. To make sure my hands don't get in the way. Make sure your painting is dry if you're going to put your hand down on it, because we don't want to end up with green smears. So I'm going to start this way. So if you want to copy me exactly, you are welcome. If you want to go about this on your own, you are also welcome. So there, I'm going to put it straight so you can see. We've got a little bit of a curve. I'm going to take this very, very slow. If you want to go step by step with me, you are welcome. The side comes up and almost creates a teardrop. So we got a teardrop shape that's there on its side. This is the most complicated part of this painting. Please don't stress out about it. Leaves are all different shapes and sizes, so you really can't go wrong. Okay. So I'm going to add in a little line here, and then it's going to continue this way. We're going to bring it down. Okay, so I'm going to stop there a little bit, just make sure that everyone's still with me. This is going to come in this way again. So if you want to fill in those parts, you're welcome. If you want to first do all the lines and then fill in, you're also welcome. I think I'm going to leave it and do that. Then the next leaf is where you leave a gap. Okay, I'm going as slow as I can. We cannot let the paint dry too much. So we're going to bring that down. And that goes out a bit further. Downwards. When you look at something, all you need to see is generic shapes. Look here, we just got a curve. This line comes directly downward with that gray line. Line goes up and skew. So you don't even worry about the fact that it's a leaf. All you're working on is your organic shapes. Okay. Then that whole thing is just going to come back right to the middle. Right. If you're freaking out about the shape, I am keeping to the exact same shape that's in your book. So if you do need a closer look, you can always have a look in your book. It will be the exact same shape. Well, as exact as art can be. There'll probably be some differences, but we'll try and keep it very even. So you're going to come out over here. There's a little bit of a bigger gap. And it just is exactly the same. And the leaf comes back. When you're done, you can always change your leaf shapes as you want. So I would make them smaller rather than bigger to make sure that you can change what you want to change. Okay, I'm going to bring that out a tiny little bit more. That's better. Okay. Remember to keep your brush wet, not too wet. This is the part where you want to glide onto your painting nice and smoothly. So you do want to make sure that your paint is nice and smooth. If your paint here is too thick, take a bit of water and mix it in here so you end up with a thinner paint. That way it's also easier to fix any mistakes. The last little part of this leaf is it circles back just like we did before. And then it makes a point. And mine is actually now going to cover my one leaf, which is not the same as the other painting. But if it needs to cover your leaf, then that does need to happen, so we've got a realistic look. There we go. Can you see mine has come over my other leaf? All I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that that covers super nicely so that it just looks like the leaf is in front. It is natural. It does hang in the right place. So we've gotten to the bottom of our first Monstera leaf and everyone has survived. Congratulations. Well, let's do the other side. We're going to just do the exact same thing on the other side. So to here a little bit. There's a second one that comes down. There we go. Hope everyone can still see. You can see that I'm fixing as I go. I'm not even sure exactly how far they need to go right now. I just see what needs to change, and I change that. Okay. Go. Okay, so I am going to do the other leaf. We're going according to the book. So you don't need to worry about following me perfectly. You can look in your book. I'm going to turn my painting a tiny little bit to get comfortable here next to the camera. This one comes up, but it almost touches the other one, so it's just going to come around. Please don't stress too much about these shapes, guys. Monstera leaves are really all extremely different, so if it's not the same, I promise it's still going to come out looking great. Okay, we've got that down. See there? It looks very strange right now, but once we've got it all in its place, we can fix the shape of it once it's all filled in. So less is more right now. Is there anyone with questions right now before we continue any further? Everyone okay? All right, okay, so we're going to just finish this leaf. All it has, it is one more leaf that goes down here. And it goes through here. There we go, that's the outline of it. And then it just connects to those bottom ones we were just busy with. There we go, that is our organic shape. All we do then is we fill in the middle. So you just cover it all everywhere in the middle with that exact same green. And then once you've covered it, then we'll talk about what needs to change. We'll take some questions. I'll see a few of the paintings. If you feel like you need to change any shape, I can help you along and guide you. So fill in the middle of your leaf there. And then that leaf does need to dry before we can continue. So don't fiddle too much if you're happy with how yours looks. So just fill in that leaf. So I can already see that my dimensions here, this part of the leaf is a little bit too short for my heart shape, so I can already bring it out a bit. And this part is too short for my heart shape. So if you look at it, you should be able to see, look at that, beautiful heart shape. There we go. So I filled mine in. Any questions from anyone?
If anybody has any question, you can also just push down the space bar for ease. It's a nice little Zoom hack, that.
Even when you're at a live event, this is always the moment that's very, very silent. I can almost feel you guys concentrating. You're feeling a bit under pressure. Lots of concentration. I'm just going to go ahead and mix a little bit more of that exact same green I just had, just to make sure that I'm ready for that other flower. If you want to do the same, you're welcome. So just remembering it was 2 parts yellow, 1 part blue, and we mixed it in and added some white to it till we got to our happy light green color. Go, so I just mix some more of that color. Remember to add some water to your color if it's not gliding on smoothly. Does anyone want to share their paintings? If you're done with your leaves, please show me how it's going. Remember that at this point they won't yet look realistic. Oh, beautiful. Alton is looking really nice. Stunning, Renee. That looks really, really good. Megan, oh wow, that's looking really great. You guys are doing so well. Great! See, no reason to be nervous about this painting. Beautiful, Veronica Haley, that's lovely. Oh, nice, Annette and Pam, that's looking really good. If you want to go ahead with the leaves, you're welcome. Beautiful. Guys, you're doing so well at this. You're naturals. Why are you in this class? Look at you, artist in your own right. Yeah, you're in this class for a very good reason and a very good cause. Please do come again. Okay, I'm going to continue with the next leaf. I'm just going to do the outline again. Chantal, do you have a question over there? Okay, great. Just making sure everyone's taken care of. Okay, let's continue with the other leaf. Now this leaf is hanging just a little bit lower. And our heart shape is going to go outwards like that. Round. There we go. And all the way down. And round the other way. So we're almost going to end at the edge of our painting with this one. And you'll see that this Monstera leaf that was in my garden had a very sharp edge here instead of the normal square. But you can make yours just as you please. I'm going to come back with that line. There we go. This one still has a bit of the square feel to it. You'll see that most Monstera leaves have corners, which is quite strange for leaves. A lot of them are just round. And back in. You'll see that there is a little hole here, like the Monstera leaf I just showed you had. You don't have to add in all those tiny little details. It just always adds a little bit of magic to stick to the organic shapes and make it as imperfect as the plant itself is, because that's the beauty of nature, isn't it? So we're going to continue. So there's a little hole in the leaf there, and then it comes out to a straight line and back in. You can see now I'm filling in as I'm going. I find that easier. If you do want to do the outline first, please don't let me peer pressure you here. Do what you need to do. You got another one here, still got it square here. Not forgetting about this side. Moving a tiny little bit quicker here. Please tell me if I need to slow down. I want us to be able to get to the shading of it. And we have got about 15 to 20 minutes left. Am I right? Right.
No, we don't have to hurry at all.
Okay, great.
Don't worry. Yeah,
so I'll slow it down a little bit again just to make sure everyone's fine. I'm going to do the outline going towards the bottom. So we've got these two leaves. If you look at your booklet, there is another leaf coming towards the bottom. That one has a very definite line. There we go. Very definite line. It comes all the way up. Remember, you can fill your leaf as you go. I do honestly find that easier. You can make it come out further if you want. Mine seems a little flat to me, so I'm just going to make those lines come out a little further. Make this leaf a little bigger for me. There we go. Alright. Keep it on this side. This one has a bit of a square to it, but not quite. Then there's another one that comes from here. Again, there's a hole in the leaf. If you don't catch that hole, it's okay. I didn't quite get space for it there. This one also has quite a square side to it. There we go. And this one needs to come out quite a bit more. So as you see, I'm just fixing mine as I go. So you don't ever have to feel like you've gone too far and it's messed up now. We can always just do a bit of fixing later. I'm going to bring down the last leaf here. It's the one that creates a point. And this one I'm going to make nice and sharp, because that one hung nice and low at my house. I'm going to bring this out a bit further. And then I'm going to fill it in. And there's our two Monstera leaves. As you can see, even on my painting, It's so different than the original painting. It always is. It will always come out differently, and that's okay. That's why paintings are so beautiful and valuable. They're all completely different. Great, so I've got my 2 Monstera leaves here. You are welcome to continue with your leaves. I'm going to give you a little bit of a break. These leaves need to dry completely before we continue. So as soon as you are happy with yours, please do the paint dance. Get up, get a drink, walk around, shake that stress off. The most difficult part is over. Look at your beautiful painting. And then when we're ready, we will go ahead. So just relax for now. Any questions?
It's looking lovely, Tashai.
Coming out so beautifully. I'm so proud of you guys.
It's looking lovely. So I have a personal question for you. We
Yeah.
know that you were born here, but you were raised in Australia.
Yes.
So that's quite interesting. Will you let us know a little bit about like, is your family still there? Did you guys all move here?
I have a very cheesy story. I moved over there when I was very young. I did primary and high school over there, and then when we were still living here, I was probably about 7. And we had a touring team that came to stay with us, and they did productions and drama and music, and I was so taken about them that I told the one guy that was living with us that I really just want to join New Methods.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "You're a little bit young, grow up, and then we can talk again." And then we moved overseas. And then when I matriculated, this guy found me on Facebook, and by then he had become one of the tutors at this university. And he said, "You wanted to come to Pneumatics, do you still want to come?" So I took that as a pretty sure sign that that's definitely where I need to be if after years and years and years I had to end up here. So I came and I studied here, and I met my beautiful wife, and I ended up staying. So my family is still in Australia. It's a beautiful country, but it is not the land of honey and milk. Every place has its issues and every place has its beauty. So my parents are there, and for that reason, my heart really wants to go visit every now and then, but I'm quite happy where I am now. We're in such a beautiful country with so much to give, and I'm just really lucky that I'm this side with someone I love, and that's why I'm here.
Oh, absolutely. Nice. Thank you for that context.
Pleasure. All right, so let's do the painting dance. Let's make sure that paint gets dry. And then we're going to get into the beautiful detail of this. We're still going to head to that glass jar that we need to paint. We have just finished step 5. So if you are going according to the book, we're going to get to step 6 now. Once our painting is completely dry, you don't need to rush. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Okay, great. So we are going to give 5 minutes just to finish the leaves you're working on. Please make sure that you don't keep painting for the whole 5 minutes because we do need them to dry. And then we'll take a short break, grab a drink of water, go to the bathroom if you need, and we will be back in about 3 minutes, and then I'll see your painting.
Hi guys. We just wanted to let you know that at the end of the session, we are going to be featuring our Wheel of Names randomizer draw. So it's quite a fun, very dramatic affair, but quite hilarious, where we put all of your names into a draw, and then there'll be one lucky winner that will win a paint and sip box for next month. So please stay tuned, and at the end of the session we'll do that. There is also another opportunity to win a box. If you take a photo of your setup now or a selfie and you pop it onto our networks using the handle @paintandsipza, so we'll put that into the chat, and you give us a review on Google for an extra bonus entry into the draw. We'll be doing that draw on Friday. Okay, so that gives everyone in this session an opportunity to win a box. Please take photos, spread the word, and stay at the end of the session for our fun Wheel of Names. Thanks so much. I see Tashai is back from her bathroom break. Thanks, Tashai.
Great. Are we ready to continue? Have you waved your painting around a bit? Once again, we don't have to have it completely dry. Is everyone's Monstera leaves filled in? Okay, so we are ready to continue. Okay. If you're not ready to continue, please just give a shout, to put up your hand, or say something, and then we can pause and first go over what needs to be gone over. Otherwise, we are going to go back to that dark green that we made. So I want us to take the color again is 2 parts yellow, 1 part blue. We're mixing that dark color. So I'm going to just mix it here again. We don't need a lot of it. We're only adding highlights at this point and low lights, so we don't need to mix a lot of paint. You can keep these little tubs of paint and create your own masterpiece later if you want. So there we go. There's my blue and my yellow. Running out of space here on my palette. Great. So what I'm going to do is we are going to add low lights to our painting. Once again, you can add it exactly where I add them, or you can decide to add them on different spots, just keeping in mind where your light source is. So if you've already added yellow coming from the top, please do not add low lights coming from the top. It's going to be very confusing to the eye. Okay, so if you look at the painting behind me, so you can get an idea, I want to bring it a bit closer here on the table. I don't want you to be perfect. Bring it over here so you can see. Have a look at that detail. Can you see how rough it is? Can you see that I've not tried very hard to make my lines perfect? It splotches of color, and that is what makes it realistic. We don't want to overblend. If you overblend it, it might not come out realistic. So we are going to add some low lights. I am going to add spots. You can add at the same place or a similar place, and we're going to enjoy ourselves with this. So you don't have to do this very neatly. It's going to look very rough to start with, but we are going to work it in. Okay, so there we go. I'm just going to continue with this. If you need me to slow down, you can just shout. You can just put them in exactly the same spots if you want, or do your own. At this point, you'll start to see that there's a line coming down to the leaves, and that is almost all low light. Okay. Because that leaf is hanging low, it'll also be almost all low light, but we want to keep the paint nice and thick and splotchy, so you don't have to cover it and color it in like we did with the light green. We're just adding paint on top, which is why we wanted it to dry, so we can do this part nicely without stress of over mixing. Okay. Don't worry too much about how this comes out. Just try not to add too much layers of paint here, because we're going to still add highlights on top of this. So you can see some of it is very thick, other parts I'm doing very thin, not over blending it. You can have a look in your book if you want to know exactly where I put them, but they don't have to be so exact. We just want to make sure that it makes sense to the picture.
It looks like the presenter video stream is frozen. Can't see what's happening. I don't know if it's the case for everyone else.
Let's just quickly have a look. Can everyone else see my hand moving? Is it on the screen share or is it on my face?
It seems to be moving on my side. I can see I can see the progress quite clearly. Thumbs up from Charlene.
Okay, it's probably then on our side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, we'll wait a little while for you. I'll wait a little bit just to see if we can get you back so we don't lose you on the steps.
Maybe feel free to exit and enter again, just to reset on your side. That sometimes works.
So that's the spots for your first Monstera leaves. If you want to make it exactly like mine, can you see how imperfect my spots are? I'm not worried too much about blending them in. We want them to be rough. Okay. There we go. I'm going to move on to the second leaf. The spots are different on the second leaf because the sun catches it differently. After this, we'll wait a little bit again. We won't run away with after you. Don't worry about it. We will give you a chance to put all the dark spots where they need to go. Our lowlights and highlights are literally the saving grace of a painting. If you know how to lowlight and highlight, you can save any piece. It's all about the lowlights and highlights. Remember to keep your lines nice and thick, strong, and messy. That's what this painting is all about. If you run out of the color, the recipe again, 1 part blue, 2 parts yellow. As long as you stick to that, you'll come out with a nice dark green. I'm going to just mix a little bit more for me there. If you're struggling with the light and the dark parts, I'm just going to move it there so you can see. So the front leaf, the little one, actually has quite a lot more dark spots than the top one. I'll hold it up now again so we can see exactly where they sit. I see that the light's reflecting on the paint. There. Better? Okay, I'm just going to continue with my low lights. You're welcome to follow along. You can see here's a little tip or trick. Your pinky can really save you a lot of work. Can you see that my pinky is holding on to the edge of the painting? That makes my line work very easier because it works like a joint in a machine. I can make sure that I'm not hitting the wrong spots. I can move around, but I don't have to put my fist down on the painting and press on it. So if you want to give this a try, it's a really great tip in whatever you are painting, not just this painting. There we go. So you can see that this one really has quite a lot of dark spots. I'm making it very splotchy. I want it to be splotchy. I want it to be nice and rough. Give it a lot of texture. Once again, it's all about layering. So you'll see as we go along, we probably will cover up most of your dark spots again. It's all about layering, because in real life, that is what happens. When we look at the Monstera leaves, you'll see that it's the highlights come over the lowlights, and the lowlights cover the highlights, and that is what makes life magical. Okay, so the lower down on your leaf you go, the darker you're going to make it. So the more dark spots you're going to add, because that is obviously hanging on the lowest point in your painting. So that's probably the only part you're going to color it in more rather than just adding splotches. You can see. There we go. So quite a lot of dark spots on that last one, that bottom leaf. Once you're done with your lowlights, you can have a look at if you want to add any more anywhere. If you're happy with it, perfect. Sit back, relax, take another drink. The more you drink, the better you paint. I hope you guys are enjoying today so far. And it's not too stressful for you. As far as I can see, everyone's paintings are looking absolutely stunning. You guys are doing really, really well. Trying to stay to the original painting as much as possible to make it easier for you guys. Remember to keep your brush wet. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to get with these dark spots, and then we're going to start with our lighter spots. So you can take your time. Just keep the painting like this so it doesn't reflect for you guys. Don't know if you can hear our mascot in the background. He's a very cute fluffy kitten over here. My biggest fan, I'm loving it. If you're done with your low lights, you can fan it to make sure that your painting dries. Please don't feel too much in a hurry. Just want to gauge where everyone is. Please don't feel like you need to rush. So good to have you guys all here. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but it's so good to see other people's faces, because we don't go out as often anymore, do we? Feels very strange. Okay. 3 more minutes on those low lights on your Monstera leaves. You guys are doing so great. Right, give me a thumbs up if you're done, so I can see where we have to go next. At any point, if you notice that there are lowlights missing or highlights missing in any other part of your painting, it's quite easy to go back to the colors you've mixed before. So if I say wanted to edit some highlights over on this leaf, just to make it clear where that leaf is starting and the other one is ending, I could just take that green I was working with before and add those highlights in like that. That way we can see exactly where the Monstera leaf is coming up. So if you see anything that needs a little bit of detail, you can always add it in as you're mixing colors. You don't have to do it in a specific time. There we go. All right, one more minute just to finish those lowlights. And then we're going to continue with our highlights, and that's just going to really bring this painting to life. Those highlights. So interesting how even painting a plant can be calming. How beautiful things that grow quietly. Remember, when you're happy with your piece, stop, let it dry. Okay. Anyone object to continuing? Please let me know if you're not done yet and I need to wait a little bit. We do have the time, we don't have to rush, but I would like to continue with the highlights if possible. Everyone happy? Great. Okay, I'm going to continue with the highlights. I'll keep the painting like this so you can see it without the reflection. The highlights, all we do is this light color that we painted the leaves with first. All we do is we add a tiny little bit of white to that. So I'm going to just open my white here. So we're going to make that color lighter. We don't want to make it white. It doesn't even really have to be a baby green. We just want to add enough light to it that if you look at a leaf where the sun hits it, you want to be able to see that color. So have a look there. You can see to the old color how we're going a bit lighter. And then just for a tiny little bit tad of brightness, I want you to take the smallest amount of yellow. Now I'm going to show you how little. Not even as much as the tip of a matchstick. We're going very small here. Have a look. Tiniest little bit, and this is on my medium brush. And we're going to add that to the green. That's just going to create a little bit of warmth. You're not even really going to see the difference in color, but overall your eye will pick it up. See, we don't even see it there. And that's going to be your highlight color. So, as you can see, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but with adding lowlights and highlights, I'm no longer turning my brush on its side. I'm keeping it flat because I want those rough brush strokes. What we didn't want in the background, we really want here, because we want as much texture and detail as possible to draw the eyes to the main part of this piece, which is obviously the Monstera leaf. So we want to draw attention to it. Okay, so we're going to add some highlights. The highlights will be in the opposite places as the lowlights. So all you're going to do is where you don't have lowlights, you're going to add highlights. So you're just going to go in and you're going to add highlights in the very spots that didn't have lowlights. Can you see there? Try and make sure that your brush isn't too loaded. You don't want it to come on too thick, like over there. And highlights aren't everywhere either. I often use my fingers just because it creates a little bit of a smoother finish. You can do as you think necessary. So our highlights really don't go everywhere. There's specific spots where we're going to add highlights, but they're not going to go everywhere in this picture. There we go. And we always go along with the curve of the leaf. So when we're adding highlights and lowlights, we always make sure we're going with the shape of the leaf. We're not going to add a highlight with our brush in a completely different direction. Okay. So on this side, the same. Here we go, just some highlights. Because this leaf has more lowlights, we're going to add even less highlights to this leaf. because it is darker, it is more in the corner there. It's not getting as much light, but it is catching light at some point. So we have to make sure that we do get them there. Right on this top leaf, there'll probably be quite a lot of highlights because the sun is hitting it there. And this top leaf, the sun would be hitting there. So near the bottom of the leaves, there's almost no highlights. You can have a look. So that's all we're doing there. That is our main highlights before we add our lines to the leaves. So I don't know if you can remember, but with our Monstera leaves, you could see the veins quite clearly. So unlike other plants, you can really see the veins. With that green you have on your brush right now, if you're done with your highlights, you can add that green to other highlight spots to really bring out the very edges of it. So very little paint. And this is just the extra. This is, you don't have to do this spot, this part of it, but it does add an extra layer of realism to it. Can you see? Just the very top parts of each leaf. Very little paint also. Once again, you don't have to do this step. This is an extra step, but it does add a nice level on the painting. Nice layer on there. It's always good to have some highlights. Okay, you guys happy with your highlights? So there's very little highlights. We're really not going to do much there. I'm going to keep that there for you like that so you can see. I just added some highlights in my other leaves. You don't need to. You can if you want to. Just in very specific spots. Remember that you don't go over a line that's already there. So if you add highlights, make sure we're not crossing lines that is in front of each other. Look how beautiful this painting is turning out, guys. Do you want to show me your paintings? Can we have a look where we're going? Now it should be looking a little bit more realistic. And we're going to kind of get an idea of where we're heading. Let me see some paintings. How are you doing? Beautiful. Look at that, Haley. You're doing so lovely. Let's see. Lovely on Annette and Pam. That is stunning. Beautiful work.
But
We're in a Brazilian
That's lovely. Sorry?
We're in a Brazilian forest. Hold
I
up,
know,
hold up.
it's stunning. Mignon, that is beautiful. Your paintings are looking absolutely stunning. Wow. Renee, that's lovely. Beautiful. Are you feeling a little bit less tension? Is the creative expression doing its magic? You're still a little bit stressed about the outcome? It is so amazing for me. Beautiful. Sue, that's looking lovely. It's so amazing for me to see when people reach their potential, especially when you don't believe you can do something like this. I love seeing you create a masterpiece. It's so good to see. Wave your painting when you're done. Let's get it dry. We're almost adding the second last step. So you guys are doing so well. So we have done step 6 and we are going to head to step 7. Step 7 is a little bit more detail. I would like you to grab your smallest brush. Grab your smallest brush. That's a tiny little brush we have. Whenever you open a new brush, I know this is pretty late during the lesson, but we always bend them both ways so those bristles are nice and flexible for you to use.
Is anybody else's screen frozen or is that on my side?
Ah!
I think that's on your side.
So give a thumbs up if you can still see motion. All right, fabulous. Thank you.
Great. Are you ready? So even if your painting's not completely dry, don't worry about it too much. I want you to add another part of white to that green. So just like we said, we don't very often have white in a painting. unless you're doing snow or daisies. If it is a highlight on something, it is never a pure white. We're just going to add enough white to our green that it's an off-white color with the base of whatever color we're painting on. So we're mixing our white into our green. And we're just ending up with a very, very, very light green. This is now even lighter than baby green. I'm going to show you now on the screen. I'm going to have to come quite close to the camera. There we go. Can you see it's an off-white color? It's only just mint green. And then of our Monstera leaves, this is the last part of the Monstera leaves. Can you believe it? You made it through. You guys are stunners. And I'm going to start with this top one again because I'm right-handed. I don't want my finger to smear. Remember your trick with the pinky? Find a dry spot so that you can put that pinky down and your fist does not have to rest on your painting. We're going to add those lines. And I'll show you exactly where to add them, so don't worry. They don't have to be perfectly connected. Let me show you what I mean. This line is going to go here, but then it's going to break. So do you want to add that line in? Then the rule of thumb is that every leaf gets split in two. But that is always, that's just kind of like a guideline. So where this leaf is, I'm going to split it in two. And where that leaf is, I'm going to split it in two. Can you see my lines aren't even really connecting with the main line? We're not too worried about the detail. There we go. And it's that line in the middle that's the thickest line we got. Okay, so can you see my detail is most definitely not perfect. That is not the point of this. Look how rough that texture is. When we step back from it, it creates an awesome, awesome view. Okay. So then we're going to continue, and on the other side, because it's so close to the light, and we've already added quite a lot of highlights, this side's highlights don't pick up as much. So we're not going to have as many lines in there as we did on the other side. So make sure that you curve with the leaf, and then that line does continue to the bottom. So we are going to let it go all the way to the bottom, but it doesn't quite connect near the top. We don't want it to be too straight. There we go. It's the only thick line we really have on this is here by this leaf on that side. And then each one just kind of has its own very thin vein that goes all the way down the leaf. So we don't want too much detail. Have a look there. We just want it very rough. If you want to still use your fingers and work out those lines so they fade even more, you can do that. Have a look there. You can fade those lines out completely. You can make them softer, or you can have them just thick lines like they were before, whichever you prefer. I'm going to add my lines back in. I quite like the thick lines. So here, it's almost just like scribbling. You don't want it to be perfect. You want it to be very rough. Look at that, stunning. It's going to be the exact same on the other one. You'll see accidentally my paint gets thicker on some spots. If you want to mimic it perfectly, you're welcome, but it really just happened accidentally. So just let your painting happen. That's literally the best advice. Just let it be what it wants to be. Okay. The other leaf also has a little vein coming up here, but I also didn't quite get it perfect. I'm just going to scribble it in here. There we go. And the other way it also just gets scribbled in there, not too thick. And then there's a nice thick vein coming down all the way to the middle of the bottom, because that leaf is facing straight to eye view. So this one curves quite a bit. That one comes straight down from the top to the bottom. And then we get the same veins as before. So it just curves out from there. You don't want it too thick. If it's too thick, you can easily just blot it out. Blend it in. If you do make a mistake here, you can just add highlights and lowlights to fight it. That's a lovely thing about acrylic. We just add in the layers. So don't worry too much if something goes wrong. Everything is fixable. It's my favorite thing to work with. Acrylic is great. So you see this one doesn't even actually connect to the right part of the leaf. It just has a little line coming through there. And then this one connects again. Quite a thick line. This one has quite a lot of mess here. So you can really just do your own thing with these veins. As long as they go with the shape of your leaf, you can't really go wrong. Just make sure that it goes with your shape. There we go. Can you see? There's our Monstera leaf veins. And then you're going to wash your brush. Congratulations, you survived the Monstera leaves. Once again, if you want a realistic view of your painting, you are going to have to take a step back. So we never actually view a painting this close to a camera. You really have to go far away, step away from your painting, have a look at it, let someone across the table hold it for you. It changes your complete perspective, and you'll see why it's not that much of a worry that we have too much detail in it. If you want to look at where my face is, I'll pull it back and you can see how different it looks on the screen versus on my table. Can you see how that detail really doesn't matter? All those veins, all the lines we just focused on so much, it just reads as natural. Okay.
It looks lovely. Wow.
Thank you. Really awesome to see you guys enjoying it. Okay. Dry that painting for me. If you're done, make sure you dry it completely. Right now, we're only going to be working with white and our blue. So if you want to clean up your palette, you're welcome. I'm just going to move mine over a bit so you can see the colors I'm mixing again. Just a little bit more clearly. There we go. Now I'm going to mix the colors on my right again so everyone can see. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're done with your Monstera leaf. I know that this is the biggest challenge, so please don't feel rushed with this. You have to be completely done and happy with them. Remember to take a step back, and when you are done, let me know and then we'll continue. If you feel like you added too much white to your Monstera leaves and you feel like they're looking a little bit waxy, you can always go back over and add just a few lowlights to make sure that your painting is dark enough. It's never too far gone for you to add a few details. So I'm going to go add a few lowlights just to show you what you can do to make sure that you are happy with it. Add a lowlight over here. Make sure it's rough enough for me. Lowlight over here. Here we go. See, so you can always go back and add some lowlights, some highlight. So I am going to just double check if you are done. If you are ready for our glass vase, please give me a thumbs up. If your painting's done, it doesn't have to be dry because we're not going to be touching with these again. All that needs to be dry is your stems. So do me a favor and run your hands over your stems to make sure that no green is coming off. If you are worried that it's still wet, please just dab it slightly. Don't smudge it across your painting. We're going to add our jar. Now this is the only thing that is a tiny little bit of pressure. So I want to make sure that everyone is ready to listen to this part.
You did get a fair amount of thumbs up and ready to go when you asked if everyone was done with their Monstera. So I think we are ready to proceed.
Great, let's go on. I'm going to add, I'm just going to move my painting up a bit so you can definitely see the glass jar. We're going to use white to start with, but I want us to mix both our colors just to make sure that everyone is up to date. So you can take a little bit. We really don't need a lot because it's only reflections on glass. As you know, glass is completely see-through, so we're only creating the illusion that there's a glass jar. So you got a little bit of white. You to move maybe a quarter of that white over. Dab your tiniest little brush in the blue. Have a look at it, how little blue I have. The tiniest little tip of the tiniest little brush. All the blue we need. Here we go. See? And then you're going to mix it into that tiny little bit of white. Because a low light on a glass is still a highlight on everything else. Can you see how we're ending up with the sky blue? That's the blue you want for your low lights. We're not going to start with our low lights. We are going to start with our highlights. So make sure that you wash your paintbrush so we can start with the white. And here I do need everyone to attention because these will be singular lines, and this is probably the most detail we're going to add to this painting. So I'm turning my painting on the side just to make it easier to paint, but we are going to make the jar exactly straight. We obviously don't want a jar that is tilted, so the lines would be exactly straight. Okay, so you're going to load your brush. Loading doesn't mean we scoop up so we have a bunch of paint on our brush. It means that we cover both sides of the brush in white. That's all you do. A little bit on this side, a little bit on that side, like you do when you put Q-tips on your nails. Little bit, little bit. You don't want it dripping. You definitely don't want it dripping at this point. Then you're going to turn it right underneath the first Monstera leaf, the lowest one. You're going to draw one straight line across. Like this. One straight line. Okay, got a one straight line, and that one straight line is going to curve down because that's the part of our jar. And we're going to do another straight line right underneath it. And from that point, your jar is going to come down and get a lot wider. So you're going to do a curve and then go straight down. Same on the side, curve and go straight down. Can we see? That's what you're going to end up with. Don't worry too much about the detail. We're still going to add lowlights and highlights. Not going to go too fast here. Put your tiny little brush. What I'm going to do is make this top part of my jar a little bit taller because it's just a little bit more realistic on this small canvas. So make sure you don't touch your Monstera leaf. But I do want this top part a little bit thicker. Can you see I'm filling in the white a bit? Okay, now we've got that white going. Is everyone okay with the jar? With the basic organic shape of the jar. Okay, we're going to take that light blue. If you're objecting and you want me to go slower, please just unmute yourself and give a shout. We're going to take that light blue we have. We don't want it to be too dark, but we do want it to be a low light. So it can't be too close to the white either. If it's very close to the white, grab a tiny little bit more blue and mix in the blue. If it's a little bit too dark, just add a little bit of white. We want to end up with a baby blue. We want it to be nice and light. With that, you're just going to add right at the bottom of that jar, where the jar has a little, there, we're just going to add a tiny little blue line. And in the middle, a tiny little blue line. That just makes our jar a little bit more realistic, and we're going to follow that white line with a curve, but not all the way down. So have a look. We're adding tiny little bits. I'm going to bring it closer for you. Let me just get it in that. There we go. Can you see? I'm not doing all the lines. I'm not doing them perfectly because glass is see-through. So there's only glimpses of glass that you actually catch. If you have a wine glass or something near you, you can have a look at how realistically the color would be on your painting. So with that blue, I'm going to take most of it off my brush. So you clean your brush, and just with that, I'm just going to go across just a little bit. It just creates a tiny little markings on the painting. Have a look. Just so we can see that we're looking through something. This is the trickiest part of the painting, so if you do need me to slow down or recap something I've done, please just let us know. I really don't mind. Okay, so we've got our jar there. Now we're going to add water. So you're going to take that blue, and just below this line, we're going to add a line where the water is. So I'm going to bring it closer again. Can you see? That line goes over your stems. Okay. So that line goes over your stems. You're going to put your small brush down for a tiny little bit. Take your medium brush. Make sure it's completely clean because we just had green on it. And make sure it's completely dry. So everything I said about a wet brush just a few seconds ago, forget it. Make it dry, dry, dry. Make sure your bristles are nice and spread. So we don't want them to be flat against each other. We do want them to be spread. Then you're going to just lightly touch that blue. You don't want too much blue on the brush. Can you see how it's only just very covered? This is how we create the illusion of glass. Where the water is in your jar, so not over here, you're just going to go across it. You don't want too much paint to be there. If you need a little bit more, you can. You just want some blue to stay behind on that canvas. Have a look. I'm going to bring it closer. It's almost not even noticeable. Almost not even noticeable. Okay. So we got that water layer in there. Now comes the magic, guys. And this is the very, very last step. Step number 7 is we are going to make vertical lines on our jar using the same technique. So I want you to put a little bit of white paint on your brush, but you don't want to load it. You don't want to make it thick paint. And this is not going to go everywhere. You're going to follow the curve of the jar. And you're just going to bring reflections down. Or you can go upward, stopping when you get to the top. So there we got a nice reflection there. Nice reflection there. Remember that a jar is round near the top. Can you see how that's become glass? Got nice reflection there over the top. Now it's clear that we have an object there that is made of glass. Have a look. You see I'm not making my paint too thick. If you load your brush too thick, then you're not going to be able to see the stems. So it's important in this step to make sure that you make your paint layer very thin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the second last step of our painting. I'm going to add a tiny little bit more lowlights in this jar. You can decide whether you want to. It will be different on all of yours. So I'm just adding a little bit of blue on this side, underneath where that is. There we go. Okay, and that is your painting. So all you need to do to finish your masterpiece now is no masterpiece is finished without you signing your beautiful, beautiful painting. You guys have done so incredible today. I want you to show me your end results as soon as you're done. And then I want to just see all these beautiful new budding artists. So I use my smallest brush to sign. The lighter you press, the more eligible your letters are going to be. It's very tricky to sign with the brush, but the lighter you press, the better. So I normally put my name and the date, and honestly, who can even read the writing on a painting? So don't stress about that too much either. 2020, the legendary here. There we go. That is our painting. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. You have survived it. You've created a masterpiece. Even when you're nervous about, you can do anything you set your mind to. That's the teacher and me talking. I hope you enjoyed it.
Fantastic. It looks gorgeous. It looks absolutely amazing. Thank you so, so much, Tashai. That was so fantastic.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I do want to do a gallery view photo with everyone's paintings. So I'm going to do that in the next 2 minutes.
Is there anyone with a question before we get to that? Anyone else with any last questions I can help with?
If you want to
unmute yourself if you need.
Press the space bar. Oh, but it's lovely. Look, you can actually see all of the detail.
Yes, layers and layers. So if you want to go to where my face is, you can see that the paintings
gorgeous, Courtney. That's so amazing. And again, like there's so many different variations. Guys, feel free to look at the gallery view and see everybody's paintings. Pop your video on. Show us your painting. We are getting all set up on this side to take a photo of everyone. If you like. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Oh, lovely. What a fun painting as well. Stunning. This is like something you can feature in any room of the house. I always say you should put it behind the bathroom door. Everyone will have an opportunity to see it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Annette and Pam, your paintings came out stunning. Oh, stunning. Shaz, that's also lovely. You guys really did so well. Oh, Haley, that's lovely. Guys, just look at your paintings. Courtney, lovely. Maria, Chris, that's amazing. Jacqueline, love. All of your paintings are stunning. That's beautiful. You guys should be so proud of yourselves. Really, it came out so nice. Oh wow, Renee, that's lovely. We definitely don't even need these behind the bathroom door. You can stick them above your bed if you want to. They're so nice. Nice too, that's lovely. Maria. Edmund, that's beautiful. Stunning. You guys did really, really, really well. And it's a very different painting. Who would like to do another flora-themed painting? Who likes the plant-based paintings? Put up your hand if you enjoyed that. Great. Good to know. Good to know.
Absolutely fantastic. So, guys, we are going to stop the screen share so that we can take a photograph. But please don't worry, because we have already recorded the session. In a couple of days, we'll have this recording up on our YouTube page, so you can always go back and touch up. But now is the opportunity, before we say our final thank yous to Tashai, to please everybody sit together, wine in hand if you have, or your paintbrush, or your cup of tea, and most importantly, your painting. And Tashai, please feel free to hold your painting up too.
Awesome.
Okay. I've got someone here on the sideline that's going to be doing the gallery view for us, doing the photograph of the gallery view for us. So just let us know when you're ready.
We are ready.
Are you ready? So I'm gonna lead everyone. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. How many pages are we doing? There are 3 pages.
Wow.
There's so many pages that it spans over 3 pages. All right.
Guys, how do we find the gallery view?
So if you look at the top right-hand corner, it says Speaker View and it says Gallery View. Just click on that button, and you'll see the gallery view of all of the paintings. Can you see that?
We were there. Why did you just take it away?
Okay, Speaker View, where's gallery view?
It's the same button. So if you click on Speaker View, it goes to Gallery View, and then if you click on it, then looks like a cell phone pad, with like 9 buttons, and then you click on that again, and it'll take you to the gallery view. Has that helped? All right. I see most people are ready. Cool. 1, 2, 3. Page 1. Smile.
Charlene, we want to see your picture.
Okay. Second page. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Fabulous. And third page. Ta-da! Fantastic. Well done, guys. Thank you so much, Tashai. So much for walking us through that. You are an absolutely phenomenal teacher and artist. I really, really, did everyone love it? Put your mics on. Let us know how you felt.
You guys, we loved it. Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Tashai.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Come on, give Tashai a round of applause and a whoop whoop.
Thank you. It's lovely having you guys. You're so easy to teach.
Lovely. Yeah, people are leaving.
Okay, so before everyone leaves, I want to do my randomizer draw. So, spotlighting my video. Okay, so just before you leave.
Maybe here. Thank you. Oh, yes. So now I can see that.
Okay, so before everyone leaves, we are going to do our name of wheel. Who in-house has won a paint kit? Also, please remember, take photographs of your final product, put it onto our Facebook page or Instagram page. And also, give us a review on Google. You will get an extra draw. That's going to happen this Friday. Right. But for now, I'm going to share my screen into the wheel of names. Is everyone ready for this? I personally get super excited about this. And I'm going to share my computer sound. Okay. The slogan of the year is, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, great. Okay, fantastic. The other slogan of the year is, you're on mute. You're on mute. Okay, all right, are we ready? Are we ready? Drum roll. Who in the session is winning a paint kit? All right, 1, 2, 3, here goes.
You turned your video.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Wait, we're not on mute.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Woo!
You're welcome. Thank you for joining our session. But Shaz, if you can you give us your full name, because we just want to track your address. Okay, pop it into the chat. Pop your full name into the chat.
Yeah, cool.
Appreciate it. Cool. That was fantastic. I love the dramatics, don't you? All right. Okay, so thank you, each and every one of you, for joining me and joining us here at Paint and Sip. And thank you again to Tashai for the absolutely amazing art lesson. I do want to announce our next piece for next month. Another drum roll moment. So we are going to, it's a bit of a challenging piece, this, but then I thought Monstera was quite challenging too, and you guys managed to pull that off. So nothing should seem overwhelming. Oh, it's also Sharon Solomon's birthday today. Oh, happy birthday. That's fantastic. Okay. Should we all sing?
Yeah, that's all
okay. All right. It's all going to be a bit of a lag. All right. We're going to sing for you quickly. Oh, great. Thank you. All right. 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Woohoo! A happy birthday, Sharon. That's so fantastic. Aw. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Alrighty. Okay, I'm gonna share our next Paint and Sip. Our next session. Drum roll moment. Can everybody see my screen? Yes? This is the next piece, everyone. We are going to be doing Vineyards of Summer. It's going to be a vineyard piece. It looks like it's a little challenging, but you are in absolutely fantastic hands with Kim Moby next month. Do go and search for her and go and see some of her work. She's such a phenomenal artist. So that is going to be the piece next month. Okay, on the 30th of August. Cool. Right, so I'm going to leave that to share. And Stevie is going to play some music on our way out. This is a fantastic opportunity for you to also, cheers everyone that's in the room with you. Phone your family and friends that joined you. But this is a heartfelt thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again next time. This is always such a wonderful way for us to spend a Sunday. And we'll see you again so soon. Please feel free to unmute your mics. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. TV, lovely tunes there for us.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tashai.
Thank you,
Tashai. Such fun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was so fun.
Thank you, guys.
Now we do go out. Leave. There we are. Leave meeting.
Wait, it's funny to see the people leave.
Okay.
Can I exit you?
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.